Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. We are the B Team on Jackrabbit Illustrated, as always, brought to you by our title sponsor, Kubota Dealers of South Dakota, with 9 locations across the great state of South Dakota. There's always a Kubota dealer near you to get yourself into some orange equipment today. We got winter coming. It's supposed to be a big, nasty one. I highly recommend the BX Series tractors if you've got a home, not a farm, or even if you got a ranch or homestead. They're pretty perfect size for homesteads, especially. As Chad and Matt can confirm, if you got a little acreage, them bad little boys can take care of some work for you. So get yourself into some Kubota equipment today. It's super reliable, but if you do need parts or service, they are at all those 9 locations to get taken care of for that. But beyond that, we are, as always, on the Jackrabbit Illustrated Facebook and YouTube page. And, of course, we are on the FFN YouTube channel, the FCS Fans Nation YouTube channel, with our good buddy Matt. We were having a good time BSing with him before the show here. As always, he's here for our traditional appearance. And, of course, producer Chad has to crack down on us and go, we should probably start. I guess Ben's here. It's probably showtime. So we are back. But, Matt, thank you for showing up again. Thanks for saving all your hot takes, because you're just known for just hot, wild takes, or but thanks for joining us and saving everything for this show. We always appreciate it.
Yeah, guys, I'm so pumped to be here. This is the tradition I really look forward to. I hate the FCS Fans Nation episode the week of, because I have to play quiet host and just let Jamie and Kyler steal the show. So most of my hot takes do exist because they are so knowledgeable and on par about things. So I just have to say ridiculous crap to make it happen. But with you guys, I can just be open, honest myself. I love it. So
be free.
I can actually talk as much as I like tonight. So I'm excited about it. I've been pumped all day. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And we don't need to talk too long about it. It's been talked about, but I'm sure Ben has thoughts about the Murray State game.
Not that many. I actually, usually I'm like, let's break this thing down for 20, 30 minutes. Yeah. I'm so excited about the Marker game that I would rather spend a bunch of time on that. And we have Matt here, so I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on the Murray State game. Obviously, the big news: Chase having an injury on the first.
Have a leg amputated.
Yeah,
I heard he died.
Yeah, that's the rumor.
He's dead. It's very sad. He didn't make it.
Might as well just spread him. No, and on the first touchdown drive, and Coach, what are we laughing about?
What you said, I don't think you meant to say, bud.
Just spread him.
Raising.
Might as well just spread him. Time to bite the pillow.
Spread him out wide. That was an offensive term.
Yeah, we're talking football.
Yeah.
I can't even.
We went straight to garage time.
Anyway.
So our title sponsor is Culver's.
What I was going to say. Do you need to reread the title sponsor? Did you mess up?
I need to do our show sponsor. I was going to wait till you were done, but then you were all bamboozled, so I was going to give you time to collect it.
Anyway, what I was saying is that on Coach Dan Jackson's show tonight, he mentioned that it wasn't on the touchdown itself. It was on a couple plays earlier. If you go back and look, it looked like he just kind of tweaked his foot / ankle. So who knows what it actually was, but Chad, keep it together, man.
Adam got him good.
I don't even know what I said. I'm gonna have to go back and look at it. But anyway, in my opinion, he didn't look super serious. And it sounded like they had him taped up and ready to go on the sideline. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure there'll be gamesmanship this week. It sounds like they're all closed practices, and so nobody's gonna know until game time. And so that's exciting. But outside of that, Luke Marble looked good. The run game, especially in the second half, looked good. And that's all I have to say about that game.
So quickly, I will do our show sponsor because we should do that at the start of the show. Culver's of Brookings and Watertown. Curder Burger, Kurtober, it's the best. I love it. I know there was a comment from our good friend Kurt Lickus that sometimes they're not melty. I think you just got to eat them right away. Don't let them sit. If you let them sit, then the curd patty will get solidified. Ben sent me the video about getting just the curd patties, and yes, that's what they're called. And yes, you can order just the curd patty. I can confirm I have successfully acquired just a curd patty, which is exactly what it sounds like for the uninitiated. It is a patty that's a cheese curd. the only way it could be better is if it was battered instead of breaded. But it was delicious. I just kind of folded her in half and Dunkarood in the Rancheroo as I've been told is the best. So
you should have just went cheese on cheese dip. Like
I did that too. I did both. I had both.
I would have revoked your
both.
Wisconsin ship.
So I actually do that too. When I order the curd or burger, I get the cheese sauce and then I just pour the cheese sauce on top of the curd patty and then eat it because, I don't have enough cholesterol or something. So I just pound that down to really amp up that. But get to Brookings and Watertown's Culver's. Curd or burgers, get the fries with the cheese sauce. If you're missing the cheese sauce with your fries, you're not having the best fries. But they've got everything for everyone. They've got fish sandwiches, chicken sandwiches, and of course, a better brand of beef makes a Butterburger better. So get to Brookings and Watertown Culver's today and get you some Scoopy tokens. I strongly encourage making all of your wagers and bets with your friends with Scoopy tokens because you might as well make them pay you in wampum because it's really difficult for them to acquire.
They're not easy to acquire. Have you used yours?
No, I'm thinking of framing them.
Yeah, just keeping them forever.
That'd be good. Put them in a frame behind me back here. Just
and part of the Thundering Turds, you could get Watertown on the way into town.
Whoa, yeah, good.
Well, they're not going to now that you said that.
We have to support all these businesses that you guys, government is shut down, and economically, I'm seeing these viral tweets of what you can't buy or go to on Hate Week from these Jackrabbit fans. It's just unbelievable.
It's incredible. Hey, go ahead.
Well, you Jackrabbit fans I think even around apparel, you should just avoid the bison thing. So like go pick up some gear at Shields, make sure you go to Shields, purchase some gear, and then you can give your horns down to the bison section. So there you go. Yeah. I would suggest that would be a good place because that's where you're gonna find most of the bison gear to like talk some smack on it during Hate Week and just buy some things and head on out. So yeah, not a big deal. Didn't see that on
there. The NDSU section is about as big as the USD section in the Sioux Falls Shields. So
holy cow. They have a dome section, just dome teams only.
Yeah, it's one little, you have to like walk in and like they have the inflated roof so you get like blown in like the old Metrodome.
And then they shame you on the way out of the building for not being a fan of real football.
They don't sponsor us, but they are the place that I got my ears up, horns down 4521 t-shirt from. So
there's some there.
Yeah, that's where I got those.
We are aware, Brian.
Which, to be honest, shocked me because, like Brian says, Shields is owned by Bison Alumni Advance. So, but anyways, just quickly, and I'm sure we'll get into some of it as we talk about the marker game. I think some things that stood out to me was Luke Marble settled in. That was good. And running game wise, some of our backs need to hit the hole faster and be decisive. I think that's a huge deal. It's making somewhat the offensive line look worse than they are. I know Chad was watching at my place and he heard me yelling and screaming about that a little bit, like hit the hole, which happens. And that's just still getting used to the offense and stuff. Anyways, so marker week, it's the big one. It has ratcheted up, I swear, every year of its existence. It has gotten a little more intense and a little more intense and a little more intense. I think I said on a late night show without fact checking myself that it has to be the longest running consecutive matchup of ranked teams in the top 25 in the country.
Somebody just posted
any
that.
matchup.
Oh, for sure.
It has to be. Because I'm looking at like the wiki page. The last time a team wasn't ranked and won it was 2008. That was the last time the winner wasn't ranked. So, I mean, it's got to go back to at least, 2012, I think? Probably, around there. Yeah, because that was a playoff game, so definitely ranked there because that was before the 2014 playoff, I think. That was the 20 team. So, anyways, that's a huge deal. Game day can suck my lefticle. I made a smart-ass tweet about it, and
the SEC fans found it.
What's funny about yes, they did. Oh boy, are they mad?
And they are conference before team.
Oh yeah, and then I had one guy. We're not like that. I'm like, you are a liar. And but it's funny because it's cycling through fan bases. It started with Georgia, and I'm into Alabama, and I figure if that keeps going, I'm going to have 300,000 likes by the time that stupid tweet's done with, because they are not letting that thing die. It just happened again 2 minutes ago. I don't know, but game day absolutely should be at this game. I know it's not, but I will say SDSU will claim a little bit of game day because Clark Lee, as the head coach of Vanderbilt, started here as part of the Coach Stig coaching tree. If you are an NDSU fan and aren't aware, Coach Stig's coaching tree is gigantic. It truly is really big, the amount of coaches that are in his coaching tree. And he actually went to as an invited guest consultation coach to Vanderbilt this summer. So he talked about that with John Gaskins a little bit, which is pretty cool. So we'll claim a little bit maybe, but it
would be cool to see like his, they make those like actual like trees of like,
yes,
where they all have touched. And I bet Stiggs is huge and probably more than we even know. Yeah.
Well, and I tell you, with Tanner Castora's book, since he's got that out, he would probably be the guy to ask about that. And he might be doing a book signing at the tailgate for the game with Coach Stiggs. So that'll be cool. Our tailgate's usually full. It'll be even more fuller if that happens. So that'll be a lot of fun. I think with this game though, because we got to ask Matt these questions because he's the inside guy. And the question I brought it up on the late night show with Borg. I brought it up to everybody during the week. This year reminds me a lot of the 2019 game with Trey Lance. And I mean, I feel like there's a direct comparison between Trey Lance and Cole Payton, their play style, the weapons he has. I would argue that Cole has better weapons on the outside. I would say Trey probably had better running backs with him, but it feels like a very similar game from that aspect. And now sickeningly, it feels that way with our quarterback getting hurt right before the game happens.
Yeah. Almost a gross comparison in those regards,
isn't it? But what do you think? Does this game, from an NDSU fan perspective, does it remind you of any of the matchups in the days of yore, or does this feel like a completely different animal?
The vibe to me a little bit feels like, and it seems weird to start on the South Dakota State side, but you guys feel like us in like 2022, 2021, like, you're good, but you feel uncertain. That's the South Dakota State vibe that I keep getting. I'm not seeing a lot of true hard facts where you'd go down to those 2023 team, 2022 Jacks team. You just go down the line of statistical data and the rushing yards and how the quarterback efficiency looks and all these things. And you were just like, gosh, I'm going to pick NDSU because they're at home. Like you'd get to that as a Bison fan. And I kind of feel like that's been the vibe coming from South Dakota State side of the house. I think in 2019, North Dakota State fans still were like, geez, they've got like this freshman quarterback and we still got some up and coming pieces throughout it. I get it was an undefeated season, but they didn't look pretty all the time. I think Bison fans are feeling really confident about where this squad is. And maybe it's overblown based off of strength of schedule and opponents. I put this out on Twitter to a reply of a South Dakota State fan just this week. They haven't faced a top 60 defense unless you want to count South Dakota. And South Dakota looks like a high school team this year. So I guess statistically,
can we clip that?
They can be 47th in total defense right now. But like NDSU has not faced a Montana State defense. They haven't faced South Dakota State. 5 of their opponents are currently in the top half of the FCS for total defense. And now maybe that's overblown, but I think Bison fans, what they're seeing out of this team on both sides of the ball, I don't know many years where NDSU was top 3 in total offense and defense. Like, obviously they were top 15, top 10, but they just look like this machine on both sides of the ball. Going back to Cole, directly what you guys were talking about, Bison Overtime put this out. I really like them on Twitter. For NDSU quarterbacks in the D1 era through 7 games, Cole Payton, for any quarterback that would have started their first 7, he's first in passing yards, second in rushing attempts. He's tied second for rushing touchdowns. He's third in yards per carry, and he's first in passer rating. And you're going down the line of Trey Lance, Carson Wentz, Easton Stick, Brock Jensen, I mean, you go down that line and you put him there, and I deserve no ability to credit him. I found this interesting. Through the last 2 years, we've kind of talked, whether we were down in Frisco or whether we were at tailgates or anytime I was interacting with SDSU fans, I kind of heard the Trey Lance narrative of Chase Mason, of we love Mark Gronowski, but this guy behind him is just going to be wild. And then Bison fans at the same time are like, oh man, I'm not sure about this Cole Payton guy. I think hopefully he can be kind of like a 2011 Brock Jensen and we can really rely on the run. And I am amazed, and I'm not downplaying Chase. He's played great, but I would have never predicted what Cole Payton is doing this year by any stretch of the imagination. He looks skinnier below his frame. I don't know if he's intentionally lost weight to be more shifty as a quarterback. His running ability, when he gets into that open field, is what is the driving engine of this offense. So it does feel a little 2019-ish where, you know, Trey Lance, SCSU, I thought they did a really good job against him in 2019. I thought down in Brookings, your defense did a quality job of not allowing him to overtake the game. And we can get into that a little bit more deep into the podcast. But there have been a lot of times where that Bison offense seems a little bit like nothing's going to happen. And it is Cole Payton playing Superman, who suddenly on 2nd and 9 runs for 14 yards, and the Bison don't line up in like the Matt Entz era and then take 35 seconds off the clock. No, they get Bryce Lance into single coverage on the left side. Cole Payton snaps the ball, and they just go. And once that gets going, to me, that feels like Montana State last year. Okay, Tommy Mellott makes a little bit of magic, and the offense just keeps going. And if you would have told me that we would have lost a quarterbacks coach or offensive coordinator who did so well with Cam Miller, and then promoted a running backs coach to offensive coordinator, and the offense would maintain that sort of tempo speed with a quarterback who everybody thought couldn't throw with his left hand to save his life. I don't know. I'm a little mind blown on how it's all played out, but I will say this. I think Bison fans are feeling very confident going into the marker, but Brookings is the boogeyman, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But that's kind of, in terms of the quarterback play and what it's done to the offense, kind of where my head's at.
Yeah, it's interesting watching Payton. You know, he's obviously super talented, and definitely, I mean, if he gets outside of the pocket, he's a problem. You definitely have to contain him in the pocket, and he's got a pretty good arm. I mean, if you give him time to scan, he's gonna find a guy, because NDSU's wide receivers are very, very good, and they know how to get open if you give them enough time. So, I mean, we'll get into it later, but I think Payton is going to be, you know, obviously a key to this game, and containing him, making sure, you know, like you said, that he doesn't get loose and use his legs for a first down. And, you know, I compare him a little bit to a younger Cam Miller, where, you know, pretty good arm, still kind of developing his game a little bit. I think you could agree with that. And then, but just a really, really big running threat. And so, I mean, it's similar in that way. So
I think he's way more dangerous with his legs than Cam was.
You think so?
Yeah.
Because
he's
so
shiftier.
big and fast.
He very much has elite level, I would say, Tommy Mellott pocket presence. We were in Frisco, a bunch of us were in Frisco down, and did the Bison even get a sack? It's like Tommy would feel it on his backside, and he'd spin out, and then he's out on the side of the pocket, and you're like, where are the eyes in the back of his head where we just can't get this guy down? The Bison offensive line is young. There's not a single senior on it. I think it's 2 juniors. There's a true freshman starting at tackle.
Yeah.
3 first-year starters, and they have had their issues pushing up the center of that line to get those A-gap powers in that run game going. And there's times where Cole gets suffocated a little bit. He does that little dancing Mellott magic, and I hate to give away my key to the game for you guys right off the bat, but it is that. You got to kill that little Cole magic when the offensive line breaks down. Otherwise, it creates the drive. It will create a drive at times. I mean, you think of James Madison in the title game, 2019, it was Trey Lance breaking open drives, and then a bunch of other drives were just stall. And his ability to do that is wild, but I did not think he would have the ability to maintain his eyes down the field and get the ball to wideouts even when things are crashing around. And NDSU's offensive line still playing high quality ball, but I was a big Nathan Hayes guy. I was pounding, of course, the table for Miller for years. I don't think they would operate as well under how the Bison offensive line has been doing the way Cole has. And my question is just like, how do you stop it? Because I think of South Dakota State in 2023, and I'm like, all right, we'll make Mark Gronowski uncomfortable, but he can get outside the pocket and move his legs and run for 5 yards and slide. But we'll stop the run game. Okay, Isaiah Davis is dragging people 3 more yards. Well, we'll cover one of their 4 great receivers and elite tight end. Well, maybe we'll just we'll send a blitzer to make the offensive line confused. You're like, what are you supposed to do here? What, you only have 11 guys, and I think defenses. I'm very interested to see how the Jackrabbits scheme up to finally make NDSU truly uncomfortable for 4 quarters, to where Bison fans are scratching their heads. It's going to be interesting if they can draw it up, because if anybody can, it is absolutely going to be the Jackrabbits.
Yeah, I mean, you got a guy in Bergstrom, the defensive coordinator, that he's faced NDSU a lot, and he knows what he's doing against these guys. And, you know, you talk about scheming it up, and one of the weapons that we've really enjoyed watching this year is our linebacking core, and just how fast they are and how sure of tacklers they are. And so I'm really interested to see just how often Chat's smiling again. Did I say something stupid again?
No, he said something in the chat. He's messing with people in the chat.
Okay. Anyway, I am really interested to see how often they bring linebackers on blitzes or try to spy him, because it almost seems like Peyton's the type of guy that you can't necessarily spy, because if he's in the open field, he's going to beat you. Now, you know, obviously our linebackers are fast. We'll see how that goes, but I would like to see us bring pressure pretty often to try to make him uncomfortable, try to close that pocket on him a little more and not let him escape like you're talking about. And our D-line's been pretty good this year at getting guys down when they get to them. And so that's going to be a huge thing is do we bring pressure often enough to make Peyton uncomfortable and to make him beat us, you know, with his legs, and see what he can do that way. Obviously, you know, he can beat us with his legs, but I want to make Peyton throw as many times as possible, honestly. And, you know, it kind of goes against bringing pressure, but at the same time, you know, Peyton he hasn't had to throw, I think, more than like 17 times, only like once maybe. And so, you know, it'll be real interesting if we can make him throw the ball and make him beat us through the air, while also putting pressure on him. So I'm interested to see how that goes.
Well, that's what's so hard about him, right? Is it's not just his legs, and it's not he's a good passer, you know, and they have really good receivers. So you can't like lose focus on them for a second. If he's starting to run downfield, that's where he kills you. You know, he gets you with his legs, you lose your focus. They hit Bryce Lance for a bomb down the sidelines. It's what they do. It's it's a really good offense. Really good offenses are hard to stop, you know, and I cannot wait for the game when everybody goes, why do we have such a hard time with running quarters? Like,
oh gosh,
as we've said over and over, that's why people like having running quarterbacks, because they're hard to stop. I think if you want to stop a quarterback like Cole Peyton, you've got to be really disciplined in your lanes, and you've got to have really good defensive tackles who can get pressure upfield. Now, I will say the Jacks do have that. Will they be able to execute that? That's a whole different story. You could say, this is what we got. Well, all you got to do is this. Well, yeah, it doesn't work often for a reason. You know, that'll be important. And I think what's really important too, they hit so many big plays. And I wish I'd have looked it up, and I'm not comparing them to this team. I'm not saying their offense is like this team in any fashion. They score a lot of touchdowns on big plays, though, it feels like. And I'm not saying that from as educated of a place as I would like to, but it does feel to be a large thing. They hit the big throw. Cole runs for 40, 50 yards for a touchdown forcing them to drive the field would be huge. Routinely, they're going to hit a big play or two, but if over the course of the game you can force that, I feel that eventually could work in your favor. But you got to get off the field, because the longer Cole Payton's on the field, the longer Bryce Lance is on the field, the bigger chance is that they're going to score. It just is what it is.
I actually couldn't agree with you more, Thumper. For the first time, the Bison, of course, always want to control time of possession. It's just built into their DNA. But I could not agree with you more. The offense, for the first time in a long time, I think Montana State's offense last year is a great comp, honestly. Just this turning machine that can we saw it in the second half of Frisco last year. It just flipped a switch and suddenly you just can't stop it. And it's heading downhill and you can't get the quarterback down. And if they start to go up, they start to go up. But they're okay slowing it down and getting those running backs involved. The best thing South Dakota State can do is honestly kind of make NDSU play old school NDSU football, like to its core. And will the interior offensive line of NDSU win the battle against that South Dakota State defensive line? It hasn't looked that way the last few years. And we forget how thin of a margin last year's games were. That Jack's defense still played incredible. Outside of one NFL wide receiver and Cam Miller, they played in the Fargo Dome out of their minds. I mean, slim margin, and those games are going the other way. Does South Dakota State have those same guys this season? I know the secondary is outstanding. That should definitely help. Your boy Lee is incredible, and I think if anyone is going to give NDSU fits, it's of course going to be the Jackrabbits. Again, from Bison overtime, it's just absurd. The NDSU offensive ranks in the Valley: touchdowns, rushing yards, rushing TDs, passing yards, total yards, third down conversion, red zone touchdowns, time possession efficiency with the Valley. First, second, which is just absolutely wild. So the Jacks are going to have their hands full with that. But now I get to make the Brian Thompson point. NDSU does what they have the last 2-3 weeks, and they want to fall asleep in the first half. You don't just recover in Brookings or in this game against the number 2 team in the country that, mind you, won at Montana State. Bison fans are feeling comfortable. It's like we just forgot about that. Oh, yeah, like the 3rd or 4th team best in the nation. Jackrabbits kind of walked in there, not comfortable, all these transfers out, everything, and just won that game. That's not a team you mess around with. You better get points early and often. So it's going to be fun.
And that's, you bring up that point, and it's something that we've noticed with this team, and I don't know how much there is to it, but they seem to play to level their competition a little bit. And I think you'll have that from time to time. Some teams do it, some teams don't. It seems like NDSU, for the most part, could care less. Obviously, you talk about these slow first halves. Maybe there's some of that there. But I definitely, just thinking about watching that Montana State game, I don't feel like we've seen that same team necessarily, or that same effort in these other games as often. Maybe in like the second half of Youngstown State, where we had to press a little bit and come away with a victory there. But outside of that, it seems like very often, one thing that Dan Jackson's been doing is rotating a lot. I know he's been developing depth quite a bit in these games, and it seems like he just doesn't care how much we win by. He really doesn't. He
just wants to win, baby.
Yeah. He's like, I'm going to develop guys. We're going to be deeper because of it. And, if we only win by 20 instead of 30 or 40, whatever. And so it is interesting to definitely think back to the Montana State game and how much of a statement that was, and to see if it kind of carries forward.
That was it was a great question by a fan on the comments. It was comments ago, but he said, well, Matt, what did the Bison fans think was going to happen when all those Jackrabbits went to Washington State and this or that? And most of us literally were like, let's see what happens against Montana State. Seems like a pretty easy bar. And then you guys won that game. We were like, oh, okay. So this is just going to be back to normal, because I did not expect you guys to go. I expected you to compete. I didn't expect you to go to Montana State and win that game, to be honest. And so when you went out there and won that game, it was incredibly impressive. and made everybody feel like, oh, the Dakota Regional is back once we hit the semifinals. So,
yeah, and what's crazy, you talk about all those losses. Not only that, but then we have the loss of what would have been likely the starting running back on the team, and just the losses just kept piling up, and we were even like, man, we were looking at those first two games, and we were like, if we come away 1-1, we'll be happy, but we wouldn't be surprised about 0-2. And so to see what has unfolded since then has been a pleasant surprise.
If there's one thing this team is really capable of, it's dealing with adversity. Like, that's when they're their best. I mean, they just willed that win out in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think what do you think the vibe is from the coaching staff? This was one I really wanted to ask. I think Tim Paulsek did an incredible job from the Craig Bull tree of being like, yeah, this game matters. And you saw him be almost too eccentric and too crazy on the sidelines last year's during the games, at the refs, running on the sidelines, all this. But I don't hate that from a coach, because it's like, listen, we're going to just play Bison football. That was Matt Entz's thing. And I've been a Matt Entz defender, but I did not like how against UND and SDSUs, he was like, we're just going to do what the Bison do. And I know Tim Paulsek brings that like, okay, it's us in the locker room. It's now this week. This matters. And you guys had the boogeyman in Eck and that coaching staff where clearly these sort of games became priorities. I've always thought that this game for both teams was like the Super Bowl, and I always thought that was a cool thing. I never thought that was an insult or anything. I've always there we go. I was waiting for Thumper's face to react on that. I was waiting for that.
I was like, what rant am I gonna do? I don't feel ranty at all yet.
No, honestly, hey, I have to comment on that. You put out a tweet. You're like, wait, I thought Bison fans weren't supposed to treat this so much like a rivalry.
But it wasn't a rivalry.
I wanted to tweet back, be like, well, yeah, you went and screwed that up and beat us for half a decade, so this is your fault.
Yeah. No, not fun, is it?
Yeah. Look what you've done.
Not so much fun the other way around. Just saying I'm curious on your current coaching staff. Do you guys think, obviously, what do you think their mentality is coming into this game and their approach? Because I know Paulsek and theirs will be, these rivalry games do matter. What do you think they're at from the old era?
Well, the interesting thing is this is a throwback of sorts with coaching staff wise. You've got Tim Paulsek on one hand, you've got Dan Jackson and Brian Bergstrom and Eric Eisness on the other side. They've been through this many times before. I'll be very curious. I think they're going to take I think Coach Jackson will take a lot of insight from Coach Stig on this one. I think he's got the experience, of course, in the game, but I do think he'll talk with Coach Stig on, hey, what is the best way to handle this? Because Coach Stig had been through it all, right? He went through the losing it all the time to winning it a bunch. I do think I think they're going to play a little bit. I think they'll do the us against the world bit for sure. I know they're tired of how demanding Jacks fans have gotten. I know they're tired. I guarantee you they're tired. They've been hearing, especially now that Chase is hurt, that NDSU is the best team in the country. It's them and everybody else. And that's been a general mantra. I'm not saying it's anyone in particular. That's just been the case. And I can't disagree with it either, just with how they're playing and results and everything. And I think they're really going to take an us against the world's personal mentality about this game. I will be curious how they keep their emotions in check. You've got so many people new to this game with the amount of new guys you have. But I do think they're going to be really locked in for that. I think they're going to – I don't know. I'd like to say I don't think they're going to treat it like just any other game, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that they'll look at it as, they'll play into the narrative that's out there. That's hey, NDSU is the cream of the FCS, and everybody's just fighting for second place. And I think they'll want to prove that no, SDSU is back on top. And one thing that I'm really interested, as far as our coaching staff and how they'll treat this game, especially is on the offensive side of the ball. We've seen some creativity here and there from Eidsness, but for the most part, I feel like he's held a lot of things back. And so I'll be really interested. This matchup always seems to bring out creativity, especially in the EC days. But even before that, I mean, NDSU was pulling stuff, SDSU was pulling stuff. And I do think that while it may not be a trick play, I think we'll see some creative plays, some creative formations on offense to keep NDSU on their toes and to utilize our weapons more than maybe we have in past games. I feel like there's a lot left in the tank that way.
Yeah, this is going to be. I tell you this. They interviewed Dyshawn Gales and he's part of the coaching staff now. And he was on the Dad and Jackson show tonight. And Tyler Merriam goes, yeah, it's been getting cranked up, year over year here, but it's a respectful rivalry, right? And Dyshawn goes, it's pretty heated.
Great reply.
He said, and then he
Tyler
went on
goes,
to
no,
do it.
but there's respect, right?
Yeah.
He's like, it's pretty heated. Yeah, happy fun times over, I think, when it comes to.
I think Cam Miller broke that. He had national TV, which
That's
is like,
okay though.
I hate the Jackrabbits, and then everyone's like,
for it.
Sweet. It reminded me. Please, you guys know this. I'm purely independent politically, but it reminded me of like the old Republican debates where everything was calm and cordial, and then Trump tossed out one insult. That was Cam Miller there, and everyone's like, "All right, gloves are off. We can say whatever we want."
Oh yeah, that was. I think that was the
true.
gloves off moment, and some people were clutching their pearls over it, and I have no issue with saying there's not. It's a rivalry, and it is wickedly intense. It is wickedly intense. You ask the guys who played in that game, and there is no. Oh yeah, it's super respectful. It's not always like, oh yeah, we're really respectful of each other out there. Oh yes, sir. Excuse me, my good man. It's it made me laugh, but yeah, like you said, Cam Miller felt like the freeing moment for what everyone really wanted to say about the rivalry. The only issue I've said before, the only issue I have with him saying it is saying it after he never had to play the game again. And
To be fair, he didn't really win much up until that point.
Right, and that that's fine. And I said, you just don't have to face some NDSU fan was like, well, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, you don't have to face the repercussions of what you said. They're like, oh, like this or this or this, and they're listing off all the Bison's gripes against SDSU in days of yore, because we know they're infamous for not holding grudges. But and I'm not on Twitter. I don't have the time to explain to you, like, you could play really clean and make someone pay for saying shit like that. So that was my only thing that I was like, it'd have been cooler if you said it after the first game, then the playoff matchup had to happen. That'd have been really fun.
It would have been hilarious if he had said something about like Tommy Millott after the title game, like on the stage or something, and then like
he just follows it up with a second one.
3 months later, Millott gets drafted, and Miller just at home like, crap, just on the practice.
They're on the same team together. Oh god, that would have been funny.
Son of a gun.
I loved it just because it when SDSU played NDSU in the championship, that was the year that SDSU was a freight train. And we just didn't get much pushback from NDSU fans, or you didn't hear much from the players. And finally hearing that from Cam Miller, it's like, okay, we do bother them. Like we've got to that point. And so I kind of knew that, but it definitely clarified it.
Yeah. So when we talk about this game, and I mean, there's, especially with, we got Chad showing the Redshirt Sports Top 25 here, right? And you've got obviously SDSU, NDSU, 2-1 in the order I said them, or 1 and 2 for NDSU and SDSU. You've got North Dakota hanging out there at 6. Both teams have to go to play there. And the Lara Center is infamous for being something of a hellhole for visiting teams. There's only 2 teams with winning records that are not North Dakota in that building, and they're playing this weekend, and it's not like it was easy to do that. And I think it amps up what this game means. I think you said it on the big show this Sunday. If you lose this game, now that UND game means everything.
For sure.
I mean, there's potential if UND were to win both of those games. You're looking, I mean, everyone outside the Valley should be the biggest UND fans in the world, because you do that, you get SDSU and NDSU likely on the road in the semis. And that should be everyone's dream if you're an FCS fan. But it does add even more to this game, because if you were to lose this game and the UND game, you're sitting at 2 losses. You've got what looks to be at worst a 1-loss Montana team, potentially a 1-loss Montana State team, an undefeated Tarleton State team. You've got, potentially a highly ranked UND team. If you lose to them, now you're looking at a 6 seed. That's a tough road to a title for any team.
Yeah, if that makes you hit Fargo or Brookings, whatever scenario you want to play here, or if you go to either of the Montanas in the winter, you know what? People are downplaying this. You don't think Tarleton and their fan base and 25,000 down in Texas, you don't think that place is not going to be screaming and bouncing? I think that place is going to be a hard place to play as well. And just the fact, you guys know what travel does. It looked like SDSU just ran out of gas in 2021. It was like a switch just flipped, and NDSU so close against the Grizz. And when you are on the road in those places, those things matter. I could not agree with you more. If the UND game becomes a total makes you a nervous wreck, feel bad for you guys. You have to wait all the way till the end if you lose the marker game, because you were just sitting there going crap. And if you win, it's not the right mentality, but you can go lose in Grand Forks and you're a top 2 seed. You at worst are sharing the Valley title, and you are a 1-loss Valley team on a ridiculous strength of schedule. You're for sure a top 2 seed. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
so
it's
question: does this in the seeding sense? Does this game mean more to NDSU in the sense that if NDSU were to lose this one and UND, what do they have to hang their hat on? SDSU at least has that win at Montana State.
1,000%. If SDSU wins this game, they can afford one slip up, and they are for sure a home field scenario. To have top wins over North Dakota State and Montana State, it doesn't matter if Montana and Tarleton are both undefeated in that situation. The Jackrabbits are getting the 1 or 2. I would question what's going to happen if Tarleton State is undefeated with a strength of schedule metric that's only going to be about 10 points different from NDSU. And let's say Montana beats Montana State. In no world am I predicting that. I think the Grizz are heavily overrated in comparison to what the Bobcats are. But let's just say it happens, right? Okay, undefeated Grizz, Big Sky champs, undefeated Tarleton, and then one loss Jacks, 2 loss Bison. That's,
God, what a mess.
That's not as easy. The idea that even South Dakota State in that situation is the 1 or 2 is not a guarantee. But then I pounded that table with you guys in 2022. I said there was only one metric. I believe it was strength of schedule by 7, where Sac State, it was the only metrics out of everything, ranked wins, all this stuff, to where they should have been the 1, you guys should have been the 2. And the committee was like, no, Jacks, even with their 1 loss, they're the 1. Sac State's the 2. And that proved to be right, because Sac State lost Incarnate Word there in the quarterfinals. But it goes to show sometimes you can tell the committee just goes with their hunch that the Valley maybe just gets a little bit of a SEC benefit of the doubt. So I can't answer all the questions, because we like to do our mock playoff special on our show the week prior, and we just don't know what Montana and Tarleton and the rest are going to do.
Right.
But it could get really ugly at the top. And I can't even imagine a scenario where UND beats us both. of what that looks like.
Well,
Except
that's like
for
your doomsday.
yeah, oh yeah, you that would be I've got a surprise coming up for that week, so I got to bite my tongue on that one.
That's
But,
the meme of like I might Photoshop your face over the shell shock soldier in the cartoon.
That would be so legitimate. I just think for once the FCS playoffs could be a lot of fun. So I could rant all night on that, but we'll get back to the week at hand, I suppose.
So on this week, because we've talked a lot about the NDSU. Well, we should probably talk about our sponsor, Wooden Legs Brewery, first here, Chad. Give you a chance. You were showing off the crowler or the man cans, as you like to call them.
I am drinking a man beer tonight. It is Fridge Pants, which is a wee heavy, and it is 8.5% alcohol. And you know what? On the first sip, it's fantastic. Sam picked that one out. She's like, I get half of it. God damn, fruit fly. It's fantastic. That's all I can say. It's a Scotch ale. I think technically wee heavy, kind of the same thing. Seth will have to forgive me on the slight difference there, but head on down to the Wooden Legs prior to the game. Get yourself some 9 a.m. fan cakes if you're going to be making it a whole day. And, yeah.
So yeah, between Cubbies and Wooden Legs, just great options for a really long day in Brookings. Starting the day early. Tailgating doesn't start until 2, so you got time.
Yeah, I don't think I'll get away with being up there at 9 for pancakes with a 1.5-year-old, but if you can, I recommend it. If I had an older child, I'd be doing it, but I can't. When we talk about this game, I think you have to talk about the two scenarios. One, I think you probably talk about a little less just because it feels fairly obvious, but you've got Chase Mason in the backfield or Chase Mason not in the backfield. I think because we got to address the elephant in the room, right? As of right now, you look at the Missouri Valley statistics. An interesting thing is SDSU has actually rushed for 3 more attempts than NDSU has, but they're averaging 1.5 yards less per carry. That will have to change, particularly if you've got Marble in the backfield. He looked better. I will say he looks more talented than when we had Keaton Heide playing. He might not be as accurate underneath.
Just Keaton Heide just getting.
I'm not trying to. But that season you didn't have the vertical downfield threat because he was more of a game manager and had to hit the timing routes and everything, and teams were able to scheme up for that and made it a little more difficult. And I guess I'm a dick for doing that. I don't know. What do I know? I never stepped foot on the field, so don't feel bad, Keaton. You're way better than I ever was, or could dream of being. But Marble was able to throw down the field. He was thrown into a heavy wind in that game, and he still was able to have some success. However, the issue is SDSU's offensive line and just the offense in general has struggled against blitzes so far. And that's a bad combination. If you can't run the ball successfully, you've got a freshman quarterback in that environment and they're able to blitz on you like crazy. It's a mess. I'm not catching. It's not a strafe. Zach McKinnell says definition of catching a strafe for no reason. This is a direct comparison to 2019.
Not really.
When we lost Jabari Gibbs, and we saw how that season went after that.
Yeah. I mean, whether it's Marble back there or in a less mobile Chase, that's also an issue. Right. I think our run game just has to be better. I think it'll be interesting to me to see how much we ride Luffridge and how much we bring in different guys to give different looks. But yeah, you're not going to beat NDSU by getting 3-4 yards of carry. You're going to have to get 5-6 yards of carry. to have some success there. And I think, Matt, you mentioned earlier that, Chase running the ball is the motor that runs this offense. That hasn't been the case this year, and it's been it's been largely, I think anyway, keeping him on the shelf a little bit, keeping him healthy, which is interesting because he gets injured the week before the Marker game, but it wasn't on a run play either though. And so I think that we've always felt that okay, we know that that's in the game plan, and we've always thought that okay, they're not running him very much because they want to keep him healthy, especially for when NDSU comes to town. And the injury definitely throws a wrench in that potential game plan, but I am very interested to see how often they run Chase, and obviously it'll depend on how healthy he is, so it's not as fun to talk about, but that will be very interesting to me to see how much we lean on him in this game, because I think that's something that we just haven't leaned on yet because we just hadn't had to.
And you've seen that in the past. Of that is, I go back to your yards per carry, Ben. Isaiah Thomas, Isaiah Thomas. No,
Davis.
Davis. Holy moly!
Isaiah Thomas was
he's
a
in
badass
the NFL.
too, though.
He's in the NFL.
He's all right.
Every single time you try to tackle him, it was like, oh, he's been tackled for 2.5, 5 yards. Oh, crap. And NDSU got that pop last year from Shamar Brown, who's just running folks over in Miami. Is same sort of thing. Like, oh, 2 yards. Wait, 3.5. Like those sort of small things are really going to matter. I'm very curious about the offensive standpoint. First, I have to throw some shade at Jamie Williams, Dukes, and South Dakota State fans. I've said this before shows, before I go. If I just went off of Twitter during game time, I would think the James Madison Dukes and the South Dakota Jackrabbits have won 2 games all year.
South Dakota State.
They're South Dakota State. They're one of the worst teams out there. And then I see final scores, and it's like Jackrabbits win 37-3, and I'm like, what the hell? And those Dukes, I follow Lawrence and Jamie, and it's like, we beat ODU by 50,000 points. But the whole game, it's like, our offense is terrible. This is a problem. And I get it. Bison fans have done it in the past. But I am curious when I see total offense for South Dakota State, though, at that 33rd ranking, that to me is mind-blowing from the last half decade, of course. That's quite a flip. And that feels very much like those NDSU 2021, 2022 years where you're like, what the heck? Why is this overall effective balance just not there? And then you go on to the NDSU side. Grant Olson is scheming up. I remember seeing this at the Jacks in those 2023 and some of those other years. It's like their linebackers just bounce. Like, oh, one's up on the line and this other one shifts and then click pop and the quarterback's like, what the heck? And that's it. Game over. And Grant Olson is just sending the house this year in those effective blitz patterns. Sometimes he just is asking the offense to beat them. He'll have a corner shift in, and that corner is looking right at the QB, and the QB calls him out, and that guy does not care. He's going, and you better stop him. Otherwise, he's coming in hot. And then you look at the defensive ranks for NDSU. I'll go off again, points per game, yards allowed, pass yards allowed, total yards allowed, touchdowns allowed, sacks, third down percentage, fourth down, red zone. This is in the Valley. First, second, first, second. And I remember, and I'm going to keep comping you guys because we're on South Dakota State podcast, 2023, I'm like, oh, look, they're rotating some guys in. Nothing drops off. Son of a gun. Oh, okay, look, that safety is out for targeting. Nothing drops off. And with NDSU this year, I predicted this in the offseason. I said it last year that the defense was up and coming, but there's this youthful recruited talent that's not getting a chance to shine. And behind some of the senior juniors you guys are going to see, you're going to see, well, he's a starter now. Keenan Wilson, sophomore, defensive tackle, has been a beast all year, 4 sacks. Elijah Wayne, 6'4", 280 pounds, who was an SDSU commit. He's a true freshman running around out there.
Yep.
And, I mean, you'll see those big boys coming in, and they're just young bucks, and they're rotating through on the defensive line. And Donovan Woolley is not Jabril Cox, because that guy was an outlier, but he's about as athletic and close as you're going to get. And then you put on Logan Kopp, and I think people forget that the NDSU secondary last year, because of the portal, was all babies, one senior. And it was just like, okay, little freshmen and some sophomores, try your best. They're all back there. The whole thing is back. And that has created a deadly combo. And I'll go Alex Kenkel on this. He says, for SDSU, the standard is 10 points. Like, we don't like when our defense doesn't do 10. And that is the average that NDSU has given up this year. 10 points a game. They give up 95 rushing yards a game, 131 through the air. They've recovered 5 fumbles, 6 interceptions, 19 sacks. Shout out to Matt of Jackrabbit Illustrated. I stole that directly from his article.
You're not the only one.
Yeah.
The defense.
Yeah, Ben reads them now.
Yeah. The defense has helped a lot because I did not know this, but Cole's interception last week was NDSU's first offensive turnover all season.
Yep.
So when your defense isn't put in a bad position, you play good special teams and clean ball. So all of that, of course, I'm not trying to do a brag fest. I know Jackrabbit fans come in here to get information, so I'm trying to provide the NDSU side. I am curious now, what is SDSU's attack plan from fans who have said, I don't like where our offense appears to be at? What's the attack plan to get the Bison uncomfortable defensively?
We've had some debate on that. I mean, I think that there has been some frustration with the overall output of the offense, but I think that early in the season, for sure, there was a lot of gelling going on, a lot of figuring out, who we're playing next to and how, these new schemes. I mean, Eidsness brought in a different scheme than they ran before. And so I think it was a lot of figuring that out, that paired with rotating guys in, and paired with, again, not caring how much we win by and playing to our competition. And if you combine all of that if you combine all that, in my opinion, that leads to an offense that still maybe hasn't shown its full potential yet. Now, we'll see. I mean, if it's going to happen, this is probably the game it's going to happen. But in my opinion, like I kind of alluded to earlier with the offensive play calling, I think there's a lot left in the tank in terms of the success that they can have and the efficiency that they can have. Brendan, you look like you had a thought too.
I do, yeah. I've brought this up about the season as a whole a bunch, and people who watch us on JI are probably tired of me talking about it. I've still thought that this season offensively feels like the 2022 team. If you remember going in and what I've been looking up is I went on the FCS Fans Nation channel, and because that offense, it was, they're just not clicking. They're just not putting up a ton of points. I mean, they're putting up points, but it didn't feel right. Didn't feel like it was humming. It wasn't putting up the yards. It felt like a struggle, even though they're putting up 35, 40 points a game. Here's a title from the big show, a pending SDSU beatdown. Leading up to the Marker game.
Wait, that was our title tag?
That was the title. That's the title tag. Yeah.
I write those, by the way.
I know.
We know.
So my confidence level prior to that game was not high.
But before that, it was a show, and I had gone back and found it because I felt like it felt like the 2022 year. And I went back through some of the episodes, and it was one where you weren't on, Matt, and it was Jamie and Kyler talking about, man, SDSU does not look good. It looks bad. It's not humming along. It's just not doing – it doesn't look like an SDSU offense. It doesn't look like they're going to be a real challenger. They look like they're going to be an also-ran, maybe top 5-6 team, all that stuff. And this offense, from that perspective, feels that way. And – what I broke out and turned the corner was the Marker game. That's when that offense really took off. And it felt like towards the end of – it's felt like a lot of times in the second half, SDSU running the ball has taken off. It feels like with Johnson, they might have found something for a secondary hit because you're going to need some angry runs, and that kid runs pretty angry. Julius Loffridge runs angry, but it's different. He's a little bit more read and go, and Johnson was more just cut and bang through that hole, which is something the O-line desperately needed for this style. I think it was really, really effective. I do think the offense, when you look at it, I think it showed how underrated Chase Mason has been as a passer when you had Marble jump in, because it went from an absolute symphony being orchestrated down that field. And a lot of times when it's out there passing wise, it's a pretty beautiful thing. To all of a sudden it's like, whoa, this offense can't move the ball on Murray. And they settled in and figured it out. That's a long way of saying is I feel like this offense hasn't fully clicked yet. I think it can. I think that's why you see so many frustrated SDSU fans on Twitter, like you were talking about and everything. They're just waiting for it to click. You see the talent there. I think I know, guys who are super smart FCS guys like Zach McKinnell and Tim Rosario, are like, man, I just don't see the second receiving weapon for SDSU when Lofton Ogroski's out, but you've got Alex Bullock. He's been having a hell of a run without Ogroski in there. And yeah, Jack Smith, Graham Goring, Jack Smith all of a sudden's got 3 touchdowns in 2 games. Graham Goring is still playing really well. It's just odd. It doesn't feel like a normal SDSU offense because you're not getting the consistent big runs out of the running game. Obviously, they're running the ball a lot to get it going. But they have figured out the short yardage game, I think, a little bit by bringing in Goose at fullback for the short yardage plays, then bringing in the big D tackle to lead block for him. That's been pretty successful. I like to call him a 4-yard back. You need 3 yards, he's going to get you 4. You need 5 yards, he's going to get you 4. But I think that's a positive thing. Overall, though, I think the most important thing offensively is going to be taking care of the ball. You look at the Illinois State game, you look at the Southern Illinois game, it fell apart for those teams because they kept coughing the ball up. And then you give that ball to that dangerous NDSU offense, and all of a sudden you're down 2 scores before you know what hit you. And that is an absolute nightmare scenario for SDSU if you don't have Chase Mason. But even if you do, you never want to be down to NDSU by 2 scores, ever. I think either side in this game, you don't want to be down by 2 scores. However, I will say this is the year that NDSU feels by far the most prepared to come back from a double-digit, a 2-score deficit. It's always been huge in this game, those winning the turnover battle. That's why Cam Miller had a bad record in the first couple Marker games. He turned the ball over 3-4 times. Will the crowd and that atmosphere that NDSU hasn't been in, will it lead to some mental mistakes? Maybe a bad throw, a rushed throw, offsides that puts them in a disadvantaged situation because they jumped. I think that's going to be huge.
It is a lot of fun. Well, by the way, that rant by Brendan was brought to you by Midge Greenhouse. Thank you for that, Brendan.
It does reset.
It reset. It was 5 minutes and 47 seconds.
5 minutes.
Good job.
The old one was better, but StreamYard got purchased, as I'm sure you know, and it's been different ever since.
No,
Chad just needs like a scoreboard behind him. We can start a clock.
To be clear, I didn't put it up.
I knew I could feel
it. Was Matt Fraase.
I could feel it coming.
It wasn't a rant. I just talked too much.
I could feel it coming. A few things based on what you touched on. Number one, it is fun that we have 2 brand new quarterbacks in this rivalry. It'll be real interesting to see how they handle the atmosphere. That's one huge advantage Chase has, is that his first Marker game is in Brookings. And so it'll be interesting to see how Cole Payton handles that. You mentioned the turnover battle. SDSU's found quite a few interceptions in the past couple of games.
Yes, they have.
It'll be interesting to see if they can continue that trend against Cole Payton. I especially wonder, on these some of these deep plays, the deep shots that they like to take. If he gets caught not seeing a safety or something like that, and ending up an interception that way. Lastly, I was going to say that for all the talk about Chase's legs, I am excited for. First of all, Matt, are you going to be there in person?
You can book me and promise me. I've made this clear for years for
that's right. You said
2027. Book the party now. That will make my youngest, Finn Russell Frazee. That will make him a whopping 6 years old. And Allison's like, get out of here. They're easy now. So he's sleeping for the second time ever in a big kid bed tonight. He hasn't left the room. So we're at that stage with him. So unfortunately, I'm going to stick around, help with the kiddos. But 2027, be ready, Brookins. The Frazee crew's coming down. So,
well, what I was going to say is that if you were in person, I was going to say I'm excited for you to see Chase's arm in person, because for as dynamic as his legs are, his arm is incredible. The way he spins the ball, and I think that'll be a key to this game too, is just how well he throws the ball. If it is windy, which it's at night, so I'm guessing the wind's going to die down by then, but I haven't looked. But
somebody said it in the comments earlier. I'll find it.
Gotcha. But I think our where our running game may lack so far, our passing game has looked really good, and our receivers have really developed. And really excited to see Ogroski back in the fold. He got a few plays in the Murray State game, but we really haven't seen him since he got injured. And that guy was a real playmaker and difference makers, and I could see him making a big difference in this game too.
And I really hope Chase is out there. Sometimes you can get the vibe that fan bases just suck and they just want the advantage so they can get the victory. I've kind of tried to get that pulse from NDSU fans. I don't think any of them want any sort of injury thing here. And you want to know why that is? Because as an NDSU fan, this is a privilege statement. You don't get any credit for anything until you beat like 2 teams now in the FCS. That's it. Nobody gives a crap what NDSU has done for 7 games. We're like, look how good we are statistically. Everyone's like, don't care. Beat the Jacks or 1 Montana team. Otherwise, we are not sure you're actually number 1. Yep. And that's it. That's your only thing. So if we win this game and Chase Mason isn't out there, they'll be like, we'll see what happens up at UND. And then they'll just like, okay, I guess we'll wait till that happens. So I guess heavy is the crown, right? But that does lead to, I really hope he is out there. He's an incredibly talented player, and who doesn't want a marker game that's brought so much history and greatness to it? So I really hope he's out there and healthy, and I think he is. I think that they were wise enough to be like, okay, it's Murray State. It's not as bad as pull him right away. So.
There are fans out there on Twitter claiming that it's a long con and the whole thing was planned completely. He's not hurt at all. I don't buy that 1 second. Ben clipped it. We sent it to the group. It was pretty obvious, at least it seemed like to me through the rewatch, that he got hurt on that snap kind of one over his head. Yeah. What about Duttenhofer, is it? How much is that going to affect you guys? Because he's a hell of a player.
Yeah, he's been great. Out of Mandan, North Dakota, long-time 6-time senior, got that COVID year.
Have you heard anything about him? Because I'm concerned.
He's healthy and okay. He was standing on the sidelines at the end. He had the neck brace. I would not anticipate him at all playing. Collins is not going to play either. That's kind of the third receiver for Cole Payton. So those are the 2 big injuries. Of course, I think all SDSU, NDSU fans were like, we just got to get through injury free. And then, of course, the worst teams in the Valley we play just blow up our weeks a little bit. But he won't be out there. Again, I still think NDSU's defense on that side of the ball is fine, just from the standpoint of they're just like you guys. They are going to rotate it 10 guys. They're going to shuffle them in. And someone like Keenan Wilson, who's played so well, who's going to be still in there, and some strong defensive line play. You can replace a Jackson. You don't want to. Does that make sense? Like everyone's got those players. So it's like Bryce Lance is out. You're just not going to replace it. It's impossible. So, but I'm glad he's okay, and hopefully these players are there for the rest of the season and get back on the field. So,
that really sucked to hear that. That you had 2 guys go down. It's just brutal. And like he said, again, in 2 games like that, something that always looms large in a marker game is special teams. And right now, That is concerning if you're an SDSU fan. Punt game, incredible. I mean, our punter is on par with when NDSU had, God, what was his name? He flipped the field. Your stud.
Oh, yeah, what's his name?
God, he was brutal.
Ben?
Yes, Ben
Ben
LeCompte.
Yep.
Thank
Yes.
you. Sorry.
Yes, I will say I think he's on par with him. He's that good of a punter.
That's quite the comp.
Yeah.
I don't know. Ben LeCompte had a lot of hang time. Well, I don't know. Our guy has a lot of hang time too. And most of Ben LeCompte's punts, well, at least half of them were in the dome. So
Yeah. I think he's up. If he's not as good, he's up there. But this is a game you get close enough to get points, you need those points. And your kicker's got to bang it through.
We got to be and I think SDSU has to be scoring touchdowns, regardless of if the kick is made or not. If you're kicking a bunch of field goals against NDSU, you're going to lose.
But if you get to the 35-yard line and you end up in 4th and 8, you got to be able to bang that field goal through in that game.
That's a high standard. That's a 52-yard field goal
from the 32.
You said 35,
42 or 35. Okay, that's a 40.
So I wonder if
that's
that
a 40-yard
field goal.
It's not 52.
Boy, the thing when you guys
is it? Yeah, it is. Fuck. Whatever. That ain't happening. Let's shrink it down to you got to make a 40-yard field goal. You got to be
okay. There you go.
My brain was thinking 42-yarder, and because math is hard.
I do wonder what your coaching staff does with that that you currently have. I tell you what, that always scared the crap out of me and frustrated me when you guys were. It's the marker game. It's Mark Gronowski and the crew out there, and it is 4th and 4. And you're on the 43 of NDSU. And, it's like, oh, we've got them. And I'm like, no way. They're going to come out and they're going to go. And they've got something for this exact scenario. And then it would be first down, 4th and 3. We stopped them. I'm like, are you watching the game? They're coming. It's on the 50. They're going to go. And that was that broke the will of the Bison's defense over and over and over. Do you think with chasing this offense, when you're in those situations, will this coaching staff go, or will they say
they're going to go?
And they're going to go, which is, that's the right call. It is.
You're on the plus 40-ish. I think they're going to go. I think you'll see it in the third down play call leading up to it. You can kind of tell if they're going to go or not. I do just want to say, welcome to how we feel when Carson, not that Cam Miller never did this, but it felt like it was Carson Wentz and Brock Jensen. Just did it over and over, 3rd and 12, and then he runs for 13. So I'm glad you got a taste of that medicine because that was the worst feeling in the world.
Yeah, man, this is the flip of, I don't think we ever get to this point without the half decade of Jackrabbit dominance. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm thankful for it, but it's made this thing a lot more fun. It has. 12 of the last 14 national titles belong to our teams. That's freaking wild. And I don't care. Oh, it's so many more to NDSU. Shut up. That's insane. That's a wild statistic.
Yeah.
Doesn't even make sense.
It is.
And that's where I'll defend Vanderbilt. We'll make everybody mad here. Best tweet I saw on that. Vanderbilt being good is the most rare thing on earth. NDSU and SDSU being 1 versus 2 is just completely normal. That was the best tweet I saw.
Yeah, true. I mean, it is a big story, and I think that's why they went there. I really do.
Yeah.
Deep down, I'm
that
okay
and
with
it's comfortably close.
Yeah, it just annoys me that Vanderbilt is an SEC team, and I understand that it's because they're good for the first time in the history of ever. But also, the reason they haven't gotten game day before is not because there's some underserved market. It's just because they've been dog water. it's like, let's have game day go to Indiana State because it's the first time they're good. Well,
yeah,
okay. Like Vanderbilt, you are in the SEC. You could have hosted if you were literally ever good,
right?
But yeah, no.
To be clear, that's a tough hill to climb as Vanderbilt versus everybody else that are traditional SEC powers.
Hey, man, I didn't choose their conference for them.
I guess we've upped our game, so up yours.
Hey, Thumper, I will say I will say off your point, I'm rewinding here a bit, but that 23-21 where a bow and arrow gets you a 15-yard penalty, just don't throw a pick on the next play. That's still on you, Bison. That flipped 2022 really for narrative seeding, like so many things for SDSU. I will say for Jacks fans who've been frustrated this or that, this game for sure is that opportunity. Is like remaining on your schedule besides UND. I don't think you find yourselves having any problems. And if you pull this one off, narrative also flips. Like no one's going to care that if you beat South Dakota 24-7, they're not going to be like, are the Jacks any good? No. Then the narrative is, well, this is the 1 or 2 seed. All they got to do is win and get there. And no one's going into Brookings and probably winning a playoff game. And Nashville's going to look enticing. So I know it seems weird to say when you could say the same thing about North Dakota State, but this really is the one where the team that has the worst narrative, this is where it can all flip. So the Jacks have a huge opportunity on a national scale on Saturday night under the lights, for sure. This is a big, big one. And that answers one of those fan questions that said, where do they drop in the polls? I think they're probably at worst, either of these teams probably goes to 4, maybe. So Tarleton, maybe a Montana goes up there. That's your worst drop, as long as it's not a complete annihilation. So that's where I'd be with it.
I would agree. Well, we're pretty deep into this at this point. I think it's time to make some predictions, or at least Matt needs to make his prediction.
I was thinking the same thing.
Oh, yeah. So the tradition for this pick has gone back to the first year you guys invited me on the show. I will always remind the fans of this every time, which is that was the COVID year, first time, and I had no data, stats, or any eye test to have picked NDSU. And because we were in the dome, I said, I just feel like NDSU will pull it off because we're at home. And that was my only argument. And then you guys came in and kicked the can out of North Dakota State that year. And I came on the next year with you guys and I said, never again. I will only pick off of everything I see, from eye test to data to stats. And that allowed me to do a streak of 2022 through every single playoff game, including the national title, all of it, to picking SDSU. I even picked them twice last year, and by the slimmest margins, I was wrong. This year, I hope Chase Mason's out there, and Brookings is a place where NDSU has won once in the last decade. Like, Brookings has been the boogeyman. But I have to say, I don't know how anybody on the outside of thinking this is where SDSU steps up and gets it done, looks at that total offense, total defense, the way the quarterback efficiency is for North Dakota State, the coaching staff, Tim Polasek, and what they're going to bring down there to Brookings. I think there's a lot of internal motivation of NDSU to do that in Brookings as well, because, heck, it just seems like something that's not possible anymore. And that is a new challenge for the Herd. I like where NDSU is in terms of the depth and the players. I'm going to take that, I believe, 2022 season, not 2022, or the COVID year. I'm going to take that score. I'm going to take NDSU 27, Jacks 17 for the marker game.
That's low scoring.
That's the first time I've picked the Bison since COVID, and that I wish was like yesterday, but it very sadly for all our ages is not.
Yeah, it's gone by fast. I could see that. I'll make my pick. I think that, as I've said a lot, I think SDSU has a lot in the tank in terms of offensive potential. And I think we see some things that we've seen flashes of along the way, but we see them utilize a little more. And I think that the SDSU defense rises to the occasion, gets to Cole Payton enough, contains him enough. And I think that there's a potential that NDSU may potentially rely on the big play too much. And if we can limit that, I feel like SDSU has the team that can grind down the game enough and have enough time of possession to limit NDSU's opportunities to have big plays. And for that reason, I'll take SDSU by a score. Zeno, what do you got?
You tell him. You say go Jacks. No, I just
No,
woke up
too
and I'm
tired.
teething.
I don't think that's happening.
The old eye teeth aren't fun. They're Shamrock jammies, and she's part Irish. So,
Which, by the way, if Jacks
And
fans are
potentially
still
a Packer
listening,
fan.
wear blue. Do not wear yellow.
yes, wear blue, and this
Only blue.
This better be the loudest game in Dana J. Dykhouse history.
Yes.
It has to be. This has to dominate the Montana State.
This is the type of game you stand for the whole game.
Yes.
It's at night. It's going to be a little chilly. You're going to want to move your body around anyway. Stand and stay standing and make as much noise as possible when NDSU's in the field.
Yeah. Everybody knows I never make predictions, especially a score. I will say this. I think it's going to be extremely close no matter who starts at quarterback, even if Chase is hurt and not able to go. I think the defense will bow up and keep it a tight game. I don't like the way it ends up probably in that game, but I think they keep it tight anyways. One of those deals where eventually they get worn down. But, if Chase is able to play, I'm really, really excited to see, we've seen them against a good defense already against Montana State. And they struggled in ways, but they looked pretty good in others. So I'm excited to see how they rise to the challenge of this game against a really good Bison defense. I do think with Chase playing offensively, the game will be opened up a bit more. I think part of the reason that if he doesn't play, the Jacks will muddy the game up and keep it low event, low scoring as much as they can. But if Chase is there, I think they have more faith in the offense making plays, and it's going to be a little bit similar to most of the marker game matchups where it ends up in the mid-20s, for each team. And boy, I'm going to be holding my breath every time Cole Payton has the ball in his hands, because that dude, whether it's his arm or his feet, I will say personally I like Chase more as a passer better than I like Cole. But Cole is just more dangerous holistically with his legs being factored in, and the fact that he can turn any play into a touchdown like Lamar Jackson. Even if you got him penned up, him running around in the pocket, all of a sudden he can create something for himself and get 60 yards. He's just that dangerous. And never mind having an NFL, first or second round wide receiver to throw the ball to, plus the talent around it. You got tight end averaging 20 yards. Thanks, Matt. Podfather. Appreciate that.
That's a crazy stat, though.
20 yards of reception as a tight end is ludicrous. So I do have faith, however, the defensive coaching staff that really limited Bryce Lance, limited him to 67 yards passing and 100 yards rushing. It's the same staff. So I am curious to see what they cook up when it comes to that. But if this was in Fargo, I'd be really kind of probably doom and gloom about this. But the fact it is in Brookings is such a huge bonus. The amount of games they've won at home is unreal. And I'm excited to be there. It's going to be so electric at that game. I think the electricity is going to just have your hair stand on it. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, this thing being under the lights at night is going to be amazing.
It's going to be a great environment. And you mentioned the quarterback. Stumper started to jump in, but it's almost crazy to think that 30 passes total probably could determine the whole game, like 30 between both quarterbacks. Like you're probably looking at 30 to 32 passes, and that probably determines the game. It's pretty wild.
Would it be NDSU, SDSU if it was a passing fest, though?
Absolutely not. I don't even want to see that world. A-gap power, baby.
Could you imagine this ends up being the first game where it's pass heavy?
Just an absolute Southland shootout.
Ends up 45-52. Like what happened to
I don't know though.
I guess I'd like that.
The least amount of attempts that Chase has had in a full game is 23, by the way. He probably averages like 26, 27 passes a game.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I was uneducated on that one. That's actually interesting.
Yeah. So I think we've gone long enough. Thank you, Matt, for hopping on. We really appreciate it. And we've gone almost an hour and a half, but hey, it's marker week. It's worth it.
1000%. I said it before in the past. I don't know. I doubt you guys have anything like Patreons or whatever, this or that, but I hope if there's sponsors or people in bookings or anyone who likes this content and is in any sort of giving manner or supportive manner, like there is no other FCS. I love our Fight on Montana guys. I love our North Dakota State programs. I love all those things. Fan-based, take time from my day job organizations for an FCS team. There is nobody better than the DSU Jackrabbit crew. There just simply is not. There's no data to support that. There's no tailgates that have been built that big. There's no multiple episodes. There's no articles online. It does not exist. So I'm just saying, if you like this stuff and you're compelled by it, NIL gets thrown around a lot. Make sure that you guys keep spreading the word on these humans that are on the screen, because if you're a South Dakota State Jackrabbit fan, you should be extremely thankful for what these guys do for you. It is extremely rare in the FCS community. So, and I enjoy jumping on and listening to you guys. So I appreciate you having me on. Be a hell of a game no matter what. And let's keep it healthy and let's have a lot of fun.
Scared and Money Don't Make Money's coming up, and you can go back and listen to the A-Team from last night if you want more of our content.
Perfect. And on Matt's point, all credit goes to the Podfather. And
Podfather.
Do not give us any money. Give it to the program or give it to Alex's Lemonade Stand. That's all we ask. That's all. That's the only reason why we do this whole thing anyways, to support the program and to do fun things like Alex's Lemonade Stand and other stuff we do. So appreciate the comments, Matt. But yeah, just wanted to say that Matt's the engine that keeps this thing running for sure. Matt
and if
Thompson.
you're an SDSU fan, bring a taco to throw at Brian Thompson.
There you go. We're blue, be loud. All right. With that, thank you to everybody for staying as long as you did. We appreciate it. And